Welcome back to the Reptiles With Podcast. A few weeks ago, we got to speak about the issues with the blue tree monitors going into the Endangered Species Act. And today we're going to revisit a little bit of that. And what better person to talk to about that than FatherBlue?
Oh, what's going on, guys? What's going on? Hey.
Yo, you got a big-ass boat.
Yeah. Right into it. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Trying to live the dream and everything like that, you know? It's crazy little monster we got here, but yeah, it should be some cool stuff happening in the next couple of years.
So, okay, you got this boat because you're doing this documentary, right? The Blue Tree Monitor documentary. You want to go to Indonesia? So what's up? What is the whole situation there?
So the documentary, we've been working on it for like the last year and a half or so, and the documentary, from what I understood, was already done. Like my original plan, it was done. We already filmed everything we needed to do. And then coming back from my last trip, I got this infatuation with Indonesia, and I had this plan that like, hey, I'm going to move to Indonesia. And that was the plan. At the end of this year, I was going to move out to Indonesia and figure out how to start up like our plans, our charity work, humanitarian work, and our conservation work out there. But I was too hot and heavy at the time with that idea, and we could have done it, but we decided to look at other options of how we can do this a little bit more sustainably, how can we make it a little bit easier, and then we started looking at sailboats, and I don't think it's easier, but we're here, you know?
Got you. So it started with the Blue Tree Monitor, so give me the timeline of how all this goes, because I remember when I first started following you, it was, looking at your enclosures, the work that you're doing with them. So what is the timeline here?
So it started off with me getting the Blue Tree Monitors, and I started that whole journey I want to say 5 years ago that I got my first pair of Blue Tree Monitors, and it escalated to 8 of them by the end of the year. And the idea was to, by the end of that project, we were breeding tree monitors in order to produce babies to then donate them to zoos around the U.S. and around the world potentially, with the idea that we can help these guys establish conservation projects with my help in terms of breeding them or other people's help in terms of breeding them. But then we have this nest pot of captive animals in facilities that they can continue to breed so that we don't lose them to a potential extinction or something like that.
Gotcha.
That was the idea. But because of the bureaucracy of working with the AZA and how hard it is to get animals into their collections, that dream was just way harder than I expected it to be. So when I came back from Indonesia, we went twice to Indonesia in a year to film our documentary, and everything went well. We got a ton of footage about that story, and the story arc was pretty much my experience in this whole realm, right? Me starting breeding animals, why I wanted to breed the animals, going out to see them in their natural habitat, and meeting the people along the way that are also doing the same, like breeders and conservationists, etc., to talk about the story of the Blue Tree Monitor. But on my last trip, I just saw a little bit of the darker side of it, like the more collecting of it. I heard some stories of what was going on with the illegal trade and stuff like that. I can't talk too much about that side, but I saw that out there, and it made me come back to the U.S. with this heavy heart that I don't want to keep animals in captivity anymore, right? And so that's where I led from me having my large collection of all these cages and breeding tree monitors, and I finally gotten the ball rolling of breeding them because I bred them consistently now for the last year, and I was producing eggs, but I was I just didn't want to keep animals anymore, and I want to focus more on being out in the field in Indonesia. So that led me to let go of the majority of my animals. And then the AZA thing, the ESA listing happened, boom, and that got me in a little pickle because I was able to release or rehome all of my animals minus one female Blue Tree Monitor.
Got you.
Which then happened to lay eggs. And then the boat came into the project because, again, we were trying to go to Indonesia and live out there and do this project, but because of the law surrounding foreigners owning land and homes and stuff like that, it becomes a difficult project in that sense.
Gotcha.
Unless you work for someone, they sponsor you and they bring you in with a visa of some sort. But the boat, the idea is that this is a vessel, a home on the sea that we can go to any island in Indonesia as long as we're with the right permits and the right visas and stuff like that to go in and out and see these islands freely whenever I want with no restrictions. So that's the idea behind this vessel here,
Cool.
Yeah, that's a lot to go in.
We're all,
so sick.
I think we're all impressive with the size of your boat, dude.
Yeah, it's way bigger in person, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane.
I think it's 51 foot front to back, and then right to the width of it is about like 26 feet wide. It is, yeah.
Yeah, we were up there a little while ago, and it looks crazy from the bottom, but even up there, it's crazy. Just getting to see like the cavities of like where things are placed and stuff like that. That's what was wild to me. Yeah. But before we get like super into the boats, let's talk more blue tree monitors.
Of course.
So, you're saying you're breeding them, like you were breeding them regularly. How was that process for you? How was the journey? Your setups were, amazing. How did you get to that, to that point?
Well, it was a lot of trial and error, man. Yeah. I'm gonna say up front, like I was a very stubborn guy coming into the community of like breeding tree monitors or working with tree monitors, because there was a lot of information out there. But I'm a theoretical guy, so I want to question anything. If there's a way you do something, I want to question why does that work, and is there another method of it working?
Gotcha.
And so for me, like I probably could have bred tree monitors the first year if I listened to everybody, right? And the first year that I had my tree monitors, they did breed, but they didn't produce eggs, or if they did produce eggs, I lost the eggs, whatever they had, right? I have that documented, but it took me another like 3 years or so, 2 years, until I started getting my second clutch. Which went all the way. That was the first clutch that went all the way, and I was able to hatch 2 blue tree monitors out of that whole clutch, which was an amazing experience. But because I questioned everything, I didn't do like the standard for keeping tree monitors right now in captivity, or at the time was like a 4x4, 4x4x2, right?
Yeah.
And I just felt like that was just too small to keep a arboreal animal. So right off the rip, my first cage I ever built for my animals was like a 7 foot tall, 7 foot wide, 2 feet deep enclosure. And people said that was too big. You're going to have problems keeping the substrate warm. You're going to have all these issues. It's too much to manage. And I said, no, maybe for you, but I'm going to figure out how to manage it. And I did. I figured out like how to heat the substrate layer down with like I had these suspended bulbs that suspended like a foot off the ground to heat up the substrate, missing schedules, airflow, just like introducing animals, like separating animals. A lot of people at the time were keeping animals together full time. And I'm not going to say it was my idea because I saw other people doing it, but I started separating my animals for like months at a time and then reintroducing, and then that sprawled out where we are. But I always live with the mentality of like, I want to give these animals the best and the most that I can, because I feel like they need it. It's like a 3 foot lizard. Like, I just didn't see that it could live in a small box. But that unfortunately led to a lot of backlash at the time, because I was questioning the standards of people who've been doing it for years and they had success. But I just wanted to do my own method, so that's how that all started.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's also a very smart lizard. Like for me, like whenever I see them in the small enclosures, I'm like, I get it works, but like it's a smart lizard.
Yeah,
and you're not
very
giving
intuitive.
it like everything it needs. Like I just think it's wrong if you can't figure out.
I mean, a 4x4x2 is crazy.
It's tiny,
bro.
Yeah.
How high up does a monitor like that live?
Bro.
Yeah, right?
It's a tree monitor.
Yeah, it's a tree monitor. I mean, seeing them in Batanta, we would see them climbing up regularly like 60 foot, 70 foot, 100 foot trees. No problem. All day.
Do me a favor. Sorry. Be careful with the cable.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, you're good.
Yeah. They were up these tremendous trees, these giant trees, and they'd come down to like forage and bask, and we saw a couple of them coming down to the lower end, but for the most part, the majority of their life, they're up high, and that's why I was like, now they need a lot more space than they have,
So crazy. I always say, like, within the industry of keeping, like, a lot of people have these standards of keeping and ideas of the animal, but it's not until you do what you did and go out and see that you come back home and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man. And I'm not the first one to do it. There's many people have gone out there and done it, and people have provided information. And I think it's, it's a mentality of like, people get animals and they don't really question whether they should have the animal. Like you can keep an alligator in your house, but do you need to? Should you keep an alligator in your house? For example, like, and like even me, like my enclosures, I still think they're small, right? If I could, I'd go way bigger than I can, but I'm limited to the height of my ceiling, which is like 8 foot. So that's as large of an enclosure I can provide for them. And I think other people too, they get a tree monitor and they're like, well, it's gonna be in my living room as my display animal, and all I have is this 4x4x2, so it should work because everyone else said it works, but I think that's what the big thing.
So maybe get an emerald tree skink.
Yeah, even with that, like same thing with like snakes. Like before I started looking for snakes in the wild, and I had them in tubs and stuff. once I went into the wild and finding snakes, I go back home and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? It's the same idea with the monitor.
I also think that
even
the
more
breeding, I feel like people cap out their care with breeding. Like once you figure out how to breed the animal, it's like, all right, I'm done. We don't have to do any more things because of the mentality there is like, oh, it's breeding. That means it's thriving, which means that I'm doing something right.
You got to rinse and repeat that process.
You're like, oh, maybe I am doing something right, but you're doing just enough for the animal to breed.
Yeah, I mean, there is obviously something to say about it, but that doesn't mean we have to cap out at that.
Exactly.
You know?
And that's where all like the standards come from, and people start attacking others because it's like they're not doing the breeding standards. Like,
That was my biggest thing too. When I came into the hobby, if I ever tried to comment or chime in, everybody was like, "But you never bred anything. So how can you talk? You've never bred these animals. How valid are you? You know?" And I think the conversations are changing. You know, you see a lot more people inputting. A lot more people are experiencing different things or trying different things out. A lot more people are doing bigger enclosures now, which is super cool. So it's growing, right? That old mentality of like, let's do the bare minimum has changed. And I think it's because there's a lot of new keepers that are keeping them as pets and not just breeders. And so they don't have that like, I need to get these eggs so I can make my bottom dollar. They're like, no, this is my pet. I want to make sure that it's living and thriving and having the best life possible. So I'll give credit to the new guys.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think that there's still also like those, like there's a good amount of people that, you know, choose that path because they want to do it for a living, and they can't see a potential future doing it differently to be able to do it for a living.
That's just the industry mindset, though.
I don't mess with that.
Not that it's I'm not saying that it's the good or the bad thing. I'm just saying like, because I ponder that question, right? I ponder the question of how can I offer more and still aim for a specific goal to breed specific reptile for a living, you know?
It's a difficult thing because those things usually don't mix very well.
Yeah.
Because no matter how much you love the animal, or no matter how much like you know, present a case of like you doing the best you can while still trying to breed, you're still trying to make money off the animal.
Yeah, and like to make money, you have to follow the industry, and the industry is very low with it. So it's like if you don't follow the industry.
It's a hard thing to find balance with. You know?
That's why Mobb Deep said there's numerous ways to earn funds. You know, like I never had to rely on animals to make my money. And that was one thing that I think that was different than some of the bigger guys that were saying, don't do it this way. You can't really do it. You don't know what you're doing. It's because like I could experiment with like changing my light system for a week or 2 weeks, or the misting regimen, or the size of my enclosures, or the diets and things like that a lot more freely because I didn't have that overhead over me.
Yeah, you didn't have to be like, yo, I gotta breed this year.
Right.
It's like if they breed, they breed. If they don't, then next year I'll figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
So then how does one go to like fund a lot of these things that you're doing as far as documentary, as far as boats? Like what is like I mean, you don't have to go into details of how much money is all this stuff, but like how did you like decide on a path to go this way? Like how are you planning these things?
Well, I think I got lucky in life in the sense that like working hard and stuff like that. I know it's such a cliche to say or anything like that. But I was a career bike mechanic, like a professional racing bike mechanic and things like that. Like I'm one of like the few people in the East Coast that has like a Olympic certification, so I'm allowed to work like Olympic events and stuff like that for bicycle racing and stuff. So that was like my career that I had done for my entire life. That's all I ever done. And that, I was just smart with my money. I have a beautiful partner who she helps me out with a lot of things and stuff like that as well. She believes in my ideas and stuff like that I want to do. So I have a good support system, and it was just being smart with investing on certain things and stuff like that to get to the position that I am right now. But I work every single day, or right now I'm in school full time so that I can get a better job and things like that. And that allows the freedom to do this, because I have more breaks in between. I can take a month off to go to Indonesia back to back because I don't have a 9 to 5 that I'm clocking in right now because I'm in school. But, it's risks that I'm taking, right, that will hopefully give me the outcome that I'm looking for. But it's taking risks and stuff like that and being smart beforehand, before I got into all this stuff, you know?
That's crazy.
Hell yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He's like being smart, getting a fucking boat. Big ass boat.
Let's get a boat.
Maybe don't get a boat, dude. That's not the smartest thing in the world. That's the risk I'm talking about, you know?
Yeah.
So
I think it's gonna work, bro.
Yeah. What was it like seeing the animals in the wild?
Dude, that was such an amazing experience, and it was like a double-edged sword because the first trip that I went on, I was so excited to see tree monitors.
Okay.
And we were out there for an entire month. And the first 2 weeks out, we went out there. We like our original guides had like left us. They didn't want to work with us or anything like that. So we had to, when we got to the island, scramble to find people that were willing to take us. And we went on a goose chase for like 2 months into the jungles of Batanta, getting lost, didn't see anything. And at the end of that trip, we only ended up seeing like 3 or 4 animals the entire trip. And the entire scouting around looking for these things, we didn't see anything. So that first trip wasn't the best, but I got the logistics down of how to do this, where to go, how I should check things and stuff like that. So the second time I had a game plan. I knew that I wanted to circumnavigate the entire island. I knew I wanted to go see every inch of the island. I knew where I wanted to be like base my camps out for a specific logistical region. I can't say why because I don't want to give up.
Yeah, of course.
I went, but we went these for very specific reasons, and we brought in more people to help us out and everything like that. And I also brought in a cameraman, who one of my good friends, Juan. Shout out to my homie Juan from Virginia. That he came out with me, and he was able to film, and so I was more free to go around and do things and stuff like that, But I also had a camera in my hand as well. So it was amazing. That trip, we ended up seeing like 20 animals throughout the entire trip, So that was really cool because we had it planned out. We had everything good. And it was just amazing, dude, to see them and to learn so much about those animals in the way that we did,
Is there like other than height of enclosure, is there something that you experience that the animals do or need that we don't offer them in captivity?
Airflow. Tons of airflow. That was some of the eye-opening things that I saw was that like we saw them more so in the canopies, like the tops of the trees, right?
Yeah.
The majority of the time. And at one point, when you're down at the base level on the forest floor, it's hot, it's humid, it's sweaty, it's stinky, all this stuff. And then when we started climbing up to higher elevation, where we were getting past the tree line, because these mountain ridges are past the tree lines, and they have their own forests outside, but the breeze was significant. You could feel the sea breeze hitting you. It's way cooler, super, like you can breathe again and everything like that. And that's where the tree monitors were at the majority of the time. And so I was like, wow, dude, that's an eye-opener because we're over here beating them down with water 24/7 and high humidity and all that stuff. But these guys are escaping that the majority of the day until they go down to hunt and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that was really eye-opening. And the weather, how cold it got on Batanta was really crazy. So during the daytime, we were hitting like I want to say like 80s, like 85, like maybe mid 70s and stuff like that. And then at nighttime, it would drop down to like 65, like easily. And below that, it'd get really cold. It'd get really cold. Granted, we were camping on the right by the beach, but it was still cold that you needed a sweater at night and stuff like that. Exactly. So it was way colder than the nighttime drops were way more drastic than I had imagined.
And with the breeze too, that must be a lot colder up there.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
I think that
Everybody's
they're getting
always
hotboxed
so
by humidity.
scared with their monitors.
Yeah. Because I was thinking the same thing. Everyone's always like, it's always like a cloud inside the enclosure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, everything out there is escaping that.
Yeah.
That's probably where all those RIs are coming from.
Too much.
Yeah, right? That's a good point. That's a real good point.
Because remembering stuff from before, it's like that everything makes sense now from the way all the monitors ended up
crashing or something like that.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Enclosures, everything's stagnant. Fucking fungus or mold grows in there. It makes it a lot harder.
So the animals that you were working with, were you dealing with a lot of wild caught animals?
Yeah, the majority of my animals were wild caught.
And how was it, setting them up properly, making sure that they didn't crash? How was that process?
Well, I made sure that all my animals were completely treated, and the enclosures, every animal had its own individual enclosure. And the reason I didn't do that specifically for breeding, I did that for preventing them from crashing.
Gotcha.
Because I knew that if you had multiple animals together, there's always a dominant animal. And the animal eats all the food, the animal takes up all the basking area, it does whatever, and it intimidates the other animal. So I did the individual enclosure for every animal so that they had their own access to food. Each one had 3 basking sites that they could bask in within its own cage, so they can bask however they wanted. It had ample hides. And then later in the career, I added the portholes so I could introduce male to female, but I did that specifically so that, and then I missed very, very heavy because I want to make sure that they hydrate. You know, they continuously have water, access to water, that's able to drink. Some of them will drink from the little cup, the suspended cup things that I would have there, or the arboreal water dishes. And a lot of them only like to get sprayed down to drink water. So I made sure that they were all, again, treated, you know, for parasites and things like that, checked out by a vet, and then made sure they had their own supply of food and water consistently. And I never had an animal crash on me.
Gotcha.
That's crazy.
Is there like a way to, when you're introducing them, is there a way that you can tell like male from female?
Yeah, I can tell. I can see from like their what's it called, the characteristics of behind their vents. Like males have more pronounced bulges on there, which is their hemipenes. Their head structure is a little bit different as well. I noticed that like males are a little bit more stockier head, shorter head. Females a little bit more longer, leaner head. So there's visual cues, but I was able to sex mine pretty easily, you know.
Cool.
Yeah. That's insane. Okay, yeah. I got a question about the island itself. I kind of asked you earlier, but just for the podcast sake, the island itself, how much development is there?
It's very... So, funny enough, Batanta is like one of the closer islands to the mainland, apart from Waigeo, but Batanta is not a developed land for the most part. It's like, from the last census that they did, they had a population of like 500 people on the entire island. And most of that is congested in like the main village, Mdui, that's there. That's where the bigger population of people are living there. And then as you go around the island, there are a lot of these little coastal villages that are like, you know, their own people that are separated from the Mdui, and they're somebody starting up like a little homestay resort type of thing somewhere around the island, but it's not developed. There's no roads on the island. You can't drive a car. There's no motorcycles on the island. Everything is traversed through boats, through longboats, you know. And then even like electricity, the government does supply the main villages with a couple dollars here and there so they can like improve their land. But like last time we were there, the main island, Mdui, had electrical poles that were powered by solar so they can have street lights. But that was the main thing. Everyone else runs off of generators and stuff like that, or what they can get from the mainland, if they can get money, because there's no industry on Batanta. No one's selling anything unless they're like doing commerce within themselves. Most of their supplies are going from Batanta to Sarong to go get supplies and then bringing it back. Or they're like hunting and fishing for food and stuff like that, or growing crops and then selling them at the market and come back. And then that's where you get this industry of like animal collecting, because there's not a lot of industry for them. And a great way for them to make money is to collect animals and sell them to someone, you know, on the mainland. But can't get too much deep into that, but there's not a lot. It's not a developed country.
So that's one thing. Once the stuff with the ESA came out, that's one thing that I was like, people are like, oh, we need them in captivity to help them from extinction and all these things, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, pet trade is part of that. Like, we're doing a lot of bad stuff there, and they're like, well, they might disappear because of deforestation. I literally went on Google Maps, I zoomed in, and I'm like, I don't see a thing. Everything's green.
Well, I did see, and I have it video. I have it recorded. I did see deforestation. Now it's mainly by the local villages. They're taking away, they're cutting down trees and things like that so they can build their homestays and to use to repair buildings and stuff like that. But it's not drastic. You know, there isn't any. The Indonesian government isn't going over there and logging the place out to like extinction. And also keep in mind, half of Batanta is protected by the forestry, the National Forestry of Indonesia. So it's a protected land. You have to go in and pay the Indonesian government or the Raja Ampat like government money to go into the Batanta. You're supposed to, you know, some people don't, but you're supposed to pay them a fee, and that fee goes towards forestry work, you know, data collecting, checking out the land and stuff like that. Wow. But half of it is protected, by the government.
Wow. Yeah. Like, I did not even know that part. And that's one thing that when I was arguing in the comments like I do, I literally went on Google Maps and I'm zooming in and I'm like, this looks green as hell. Like, it's just green, bro. I saw like a little tiny like villages, like you said, like little tiny villages, but that was it. Most of the island, if you look at it on Google Maps right now, it's fucking green, bro.
Yeah, and it's really hard to traverse. My first trip, I had an issue where I couldn't find someone to take me out there until last minute. But before I found that person, I was like, I'm going to wing this shit. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to go on a boat and I'm just going to walk across Batanta because it doesn't say it's that big. I think Google Maps said that it was like, when I did the math, it said it was only like, I said like 10 miles long or something like that. Bullshit, it's not. It's definitely not that long. And I was like, oh yeah, I'll just start here and then walk over that. If I would have done that, I would have killed myself. 100%. Because those it's a very mountainous island, super steep, those passages. And a lot of it is unexplored. And nobody knows what's inside of there.
Did you see anything weird other than blue trees? Like any other reptile or animal?
Yeah, we saw the 2 venomous snakes on the island, which is the white snake or the small-eyed snake, and then they had a black variant of it, which they called it the Papuan adder. I'm not sure exactly what species of snake it was or anything like that. And then we also witnessed there's a mimic snake of the small-eyed snake or the white snake. And these are the two most venomous snakes on the island. But there's a mimic, and it's a tiny snake that looks just like the white snake. And everyone's afraid of it because it's a white snake, And they're like, white snake, don't touch it, it's going to kill you. But apparently it's a colubrid that's it's not venomous, but looks like it. Yeah. And then on my last trip, we saw, and I haven't been able to find anything described about this, but we saw a very long, slender black snake that looked like a colubrid. But I didn't want to touch it because I was like, I don't know.
You don't know, yeah.
I had no idea what it was.
Could be an elapid.
Yeah, exactly. And so we just let it go. But we were able to document it. But I haven't been able to find anything about what that species of snake was or anything like that.
Do you see any blue-tongue skinks?
No blue-tongue skinks. A lot of other skinks. That island is full of skinks. Yeah. Tons of skinks everywhere, but no blue tongues, no.
Finding the right substrate is a paramount part of reptile keeping. And if you're looking for the best cocoa option, we recommend Cocoa to Go. Cocoa can be used for reptiles, amphibians, and even plants, so they're perfect for any kind of setup. So we make sure to use Cocoa to Go. Let them know that the Reptiles With Podcast sent you. So what made you, now that you're transitioning from the work that you did with the blue trees into what you're doing now, what was it that like made you fall in love with Indonesia? That you're like, I need to just spend my time here and continue to develop what it is that I want to work with?
The people, man.
Yeah.
The people were so amazing and so welcoming in every single chance, and they don't ask for anything. They're just the nicest people in the entire world. Like, for example, my first trip there, I went there during my birthday. And so my birthday's January 9th. And
happy birthday.
Yeah, that's my birthday, too.
Oh,
that's crazy. Hell yeah.
Capricorn, dude.
Let's fucking go.
Yeah, dude. So we went out there for my birthday. And while we were in the jungle, the day we came back, my homie was like, hey, man, come over here. You should get your camera. You should do this. Look, they're doing a celebration and everything like that. I was like, okay, cool. I don't want to document them. I don't know how sensitive it is. They did an entire ceremony for me. They had all these children dancing and everything like that. They came up, they had this little plaque that said, we love you, FatherBlue, happy birthday, this and that. I didn't ask for any of that stuff or anything like that. They just, because I had visited them and everything like that, they had done this for me. When I was out there, they cooked for us, they give us food, they give us water, they give us places. We were meeting random people and they were like, oh, you need a place to stay? Stay in our hut, stay in our house. Just you can park your tent here. You need a shower. There's a shower over here. They're just such loving and amazing people, dude. And they just don't have a lot of resources. And like the second trip we went, I didn't know how I could give back, to these people for using their land, because you have to ask permission to use their land. But we went back when we were in the mainland in Jakarta. We bought a ton of clothing, and we donated it to all the children of Dewey and the mothers of Dewey, and they were just so righteous and happy and so thanking us so much. One of the things that stuck with me was when my translator was telling us, he was like, hey man, these guys are so grateful. They just told me like, you're one of the first people ever to give them something. He said people come to this land and they just take from them, and no one ever gives them anything. And I thought that was touching. Like I didn't do that for any clout or anything like that, or any brownie points. I think it's the right thing to do because I'm going to use your land. That's the least I can do. It's only a couple bucks for me, and that's a lot for those people, So to really help those guys, and give back as much as I can with educated them on how they can protect their land. You know, that's kind of why I really want to go out there, you know. And there's so much to explore. Outside of that, Indonesia, those lands, there's like, I think it's like 17,000 islands, and a lot of them are unexplored. So there's just possibilities of finding so many cool things out there, you know. And I don't know, I love it so much.
That's insane.
That's cool. That's cool.
Dude, the people.
Yeah,
if I would ball out crying like a little girl, bro.
Yeah, man.
Jeez, dude.
They're really nice. They're really cool, welcoming people, and they want to help. Like, you know, they don't ask for anything in return.
Yeah.
That's just how those communities work through trade and helping your neighbor out.
Yeah.
And it's like one of the last uncorrupted places in the world, I feel, you know?
Fire.
Damn.
That was fire.
Damn.
Yeah. It goes to show that the more you have, it doesn't mean that things are better.
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, I honestly, like, might sound selfish. Sometimes I think about things like that, and I'm like, I would trade.
Yeah.
I would definitely trade with people like that. Just, like, they also have, like, they have, like, a lot of issues, of course, but also, like, no worries, bro. Like, everybody's just taking care of each other.
Yeah,
It's
it's more of a community mindset.
yeah,
They
it's
have
just like,
better things to worry about than all the stuff
yeah,
we do.
we're out here eating. We're on this island.
Mhm.
Blue tree monitor at the
Yeah.
top. Like, it sounds great.
Yeah.
What do you think? Helping them out. How do you think you can get them to, like, become better or help them to become better? How do you think that moves forward?
That's a very sensitive topic and a double-edged sword, right? Because, like, one thing you can do is create jobs and create industry or create a way for them to get stuff easier. Like, for example, if we were to build a port on Batanta, right, they'll be able to get supplies and they can go back and forth to the mainland and get jobs and what have you. But there's the sense that, like, that could also bring in more people, which needs more housing, which means more deforestation, which means more pollution. Like, so it's a double-edged sword of, like, how do you manage that without taking too much away? And what we want to do is provide them the resources to make the decisions they want to do. Like, one of the plans we had was to go over there and start like a scholarship kind of project where we can, like, get a pool of money and we can use this money to sponsor a handful of people a year so that they can get money to leave Batanta and go to the mainland, have enough money to, like, sustain themselves on the mainland, get a job, whatever it is they have you, and then come back and provide for their families, their villages, however have you. And then one thing that they asked, when we asked them out there, was like, what else could we do for you guys? What is it that you need? What kind of resources? They expressed a lot of interest in learning English for some reason, right? And I thought that was a curious thing. But so we want to maybe work with an idea of help build like an educational center where we can provide them books, maybe some type of resource to help them teach English, so that then again they can also provide themselves jobs with working with the tourism that comes out there, so they can, you know, benefit from that, not just be utilized as like whatever type of workers, but they can actually be bird guides, they can be nature guides, they can do all this sort of things, you know. And then the big project that we want to work with, and this is like far in advance, is to start like a natural how do I say this, like a natural scientific research center in Sarong or Batanta, where we can use that place to, like, collect data on all the fauna of Indonesia, and then have the government come and help with that whole project. You know, something that will just bring in, again, more people to come see this, get information that they can use from the land, whether it's like the plant species that might be beneficial to their people, whether it's like documenting animals they don't know about and how to, you know, work with those animals, etc. And then again, at a later point, a venom lab that we want to do there as well, so that we can then help protect the people that are dying from, like, you know, poisonous snake bites and stuff like that. You know, it's again, that doesn't really answer the question of how do we, you know, give them, like, protect them, but it's so many projects that we have envisioning to help that we hopefully will do something to benefit them. You know.
God damn.
Yeah.
That's like so far.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
It's a great plan, though.
Yeah, that's the plan.
It's like years in the future and everything.
I know,
Everything's like
this
down to a
guy's
T.
thought about it all. I'm like, I'll be
He's
looking
still trying to figure out how to get a boat.
Yeah. I'm like, guys, I got a boat. That's all I got.
I guess let's talk about the boat now.
Okay.
Dude. Let's talk about this thing, dude. So, how does one acquire such vessel?
Craigslist.
Jesus.
Facebook Marketplace.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what the fuck?
Shout out, dude. It's like, nah.
That's
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, dude. No, I had. It's funny how I came into this whole thing. I had been looking at sailboats for like a couple months before that, and I had already struck a deal with someone else to go buy their boat in Georgia. I'd already visited them once before. I loved the boat. I wanted to buy it. It was cool. It was a smaller boat than this, and it was made out of wood. And the week that I bought my tickets to go see that boat, my guy was like, "Hey man, I can't sell you the boat. You got outbidded by $5,000." And I was like, dang, dude, I already got my tickets, dude. But I was like, all right, it is what it is. And then I'm scouring through Facebook Marketplace to see, like, what else options are there? And I see this thing. I had already seen this boat being built. Like, beforehand, this boat was built by this really cool boat builder out here in Florida. And his name is David Halliday. And he's famous for building these style of boats here in the U.S. He's like one of the only people that has the permission from the designers to build these boats in the USA. And this is called a James Warham. That's the designer's name is James Warham, and this is the Tahini, the model of it. But they're based out of, is like a designer out of England, and they gave this guy the permission to build his boats out of here. And so he was famous. He'd been documenting this on YouTube for like 6-7 years, building the whole boat out. It was really cool, and you could see how he progresses from the start to this point, and then he disappeared like 2 years ago. No one knew where the hell it went. It was just gone in the wind, and I was like, "Damn!" But I was watching his videos for guidance on how I was going to maintain my boat. That's what I was trying to learn. And then I see on Facebook Marketplace the same boat I've been seeing on YouTube is for sale. And I came down here. I texted this guy, and within that week, I switched my ticket from Georgia to Florida, and I bought this motherfucker that week. And here we are now, dude. It's been crazy.
Dude, you got some fucking balls, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go across the ocean,
Yeah.
bro. Like, you're a pirate.
Yeah.
You know that, right? Like, you're a fucking pirate. You're a real life pirate.
Yeah, you were telling us about the route. So it's leaving from here or from where? Which port?
From here, yeah. From here, it's going to be splash here in Florida, and then from here we're going to go cruise down the Caribbean to Puerto Rico, and then we're going to loop back down around towards Panama and cross the Panama Canal and then over the Pacific.
That's fucking okay. The Puerto Rico part, chilling.
Yeah.
Down to Panama,
Once you go to the
chilling.
Pacific,
the
bro.
Pacific, dude?
That's where they make the movies, man.
Yeah, dude. Like, not even, bro. Like, Jack Sparrow did not go that way, dude.
he stayed
was
in the
like, we stay
Caribbean,
on
bro.
this side. We're not going to that side. Absolutely not. And this guy's like, nah, that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
How do you get this to the water? Like,
Oh, you
do you
gotta
just
haul
take
it
like a
out.
huge like?
Yeah, you got to get like a lift. You'll take it. So the cool thing about this catamaran is that, and this is a type of boat, it's in pieces. So
just
that's
take
one
it
piece,
apart
that's
and-
one piece, and that's another piece. So you can take out the whole motherfucker in one go, but you need a big old trailer.
That's what I was thinking about.
Or you could take that piece, put it in the water, that piece, put it in the water, and then build it on top like Legos,
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Fucking crazy. Dude.
That's insane, bro. And then once you go through the Pacific, like, how do you know? Okay, this is my thing, because that's the part that scares me, bro.
It's what you said
A
earlier.
compass.
It was the compass. No, he said compass.
Yeah, I did say compass. Like, how do you go? How do you know to go across the ocean and you're like, yep, I'm fine? Like,
I don't know, dude. Honestly.
Oh, you can just see it from across the
What
horizon.
did
Go
this
that way.
man just say?
I have no clue, dude.
There's no stoplights. There's no signs.
dude, like, no, but like, for real, like, literally that. Like, how do you? How are you so sure?
You get satellite GPS and everything like that for navigation, and like
Starlink.
This is going to have Starlink, so we're going to have access to the internet and stuff like that as much as we can out there. But I'm not a sailor. I've never sailed in my entire life. This is my first boat that I ever owned. I don't know anything about marine life.
This guy's got
And
big
so
balls.
we're just going in balls deep. Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much,
Bro.
man. Yeah. We're hiring a crew, though. So,
Yeah.
like I'm not going to do it alone. The plan is to hire a captain
Okay,
to
bro.
crew us. Yeah.
How do you find the crew and go like, yo,
Go-
You're the one.
Not even just like, yo, hear me out.
Yeah, dude.
Hear me out. Like the Europeans back in the day, you're gonna get on a fucking boat across the Pacific. What do you think?
Yeah, dude.
You gotta dress yourself up like a pirate so you can really like get into it.
Oh
Like, I
my
need a
god,
crew.
you should dress as a pirate, dude. Across the Pacific, just land in Hawaii. Like, we're going for round 2, boys.
That's the fucking uniform period. Like,
Yeah,
You have to dress like a pirate, bro.
going across the ocean.
Yeah, man. Be crazy, dude.
That's the plan.
Yeah, that's gonna be a whole story on itself, man. It's gonna be wild. Honestly,
Yeah, that's
at that
like
point.
fuck the Blue Tree Monitor. That's its own documentary. Going on like do people do this shit?
Yeah, all the time, man. People
Wait,
all the time.
People go across the ocean all the time.
All the time. All the time.
Chuck, you'll never believe what they
I
used
did
to
not
do
know
back
that
in the
until I
day.
started like researching sailboats and sailing. But it's very common, and people get hired all the time to do this shit because people be like, yo, dude, I want to go to Hawaii. Anybody got a boat that's going to Hawaii? Let me get on your boat. I'll work for you. And then and so people sail across to Hawaii, and then you might have to get a captain when you're in Hawaii. Oh, I want to go to Australia. Let me take you to Australia. I'll hire you. Know so
Australia's wild.
yeah, dude. It's just like that.
Chuck,
bro.
you'll never believe it, but they used to do that back before planes.
That's what I'm saying. But like I don't know. Like do these
With
people know
sails
there's
and
planes
everything.
now?
Yeah. But a lot of people want to become captains and get experience working on boats. So
There's
that's how
a
they
show
do that.
about that.
Yeah.
Like people really want to become captains and
Yeah.
just go sail the ocean.
Yeah.
Like I listen, amazing, adventurous. I'm all for it, but I'm fucking scared.
Yeah, dude.
And people actually do it.
Yeah, dude. It's crazy. It's crazy. People do that shit all the time. All the time. And a lot of people, if you look, which is the good part, is that people have already charted a lot of these crossings. So you just follow someone's chart. They've already found where here's too shallow, here's too deep, here's the Loch Ness Monster or something like that. You know, they charted all that stuff. So it's easy to follow that. But a captain will know how to do all that stuff, you know?
Whoa.
That's pretty
So
sick.
like I thought it was gonna be way harder to get a crew than that because if people already do it, then
all the time.
that's pretty cake.
All the time, yeah.
Because I was gonna say like you could just walk up to some.
You thought he was just getting a band of thieves. He's gonna go look for the fucking One Piece. Like, what the hell?
bail somebody out of jail. Like hear me out.
An actual pirate.
Yeah, you ain't got nothing
Throws a
else. in
bag of,
life.
He's
like,
calling
coins.
fucking Johnny Depp. Like, yo, I know you got fired for Pirates of the Caribbean.
Dude.
Peg leg required, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No eye, no hand, must have a hook.
You have an arm. I got a machete.
You got bonus points if you have a parrot, bro.
That's insane,
There you
bro.
go, dude.
And then you said you're Dominican and
Dominican or Salvadorian, dude. So nothing far away from the Pacific and the islands as
no.
possible, dude. Yeah.
bro, listen, the Dominican in you is thriving right now. He's like, yeah.
Half of it's gonna be full of plátanos, bro.
Yeah, oh, for sure. That's not a bad idea, bro. Tostones in the middle of the Pacific, bro.
Crazy.
Yeah, man.
God.
Yeah.
The Dominican in you is thriving. I hope you know that, bro. Like, the Dominican roots of this guy
Yeah, dude.
are going crazy, bro.
Yeah, when we went up there, dude, it's insane, dude. I would love to see it finished. I'm so excited for the progress of that. Once you were like explaining how everything was going, I'm like, dude, this is fucking wild,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah,
Oh
How does it
my
move?
god.
Oh, well,
In the water.
No shit.
It's got wheels actually.
yeah,
Right
so they built it. They built it to have an inboard, like an inside engine and everything like that originally, because this is a big project. This is a really big project they were going to do, and they were going to make this an entire like electric catamaran. The guy didn't even want to sail it. He just wanted it to be powered, and he was going to live like in the Cayman Islands or something like that with his family. But we're going to put outboard engines. So eventually, right here on this little block deck, there's going to be 2 engines hanging down that propel the whole thing.
Okay.
And then the sail.
How you gonna
You
do
have a
with
big
the-
sail and everything like that.
I was about to say he just had fucking sails and ready
I thought
to
it
go.
was gonna have a sail. Yeah.
The sail is what you use to sail across the sea, but
Just like-
sometimes there's no wind.
Like to get into
sometimes
ports
it's
and all
this
that stuff.
and you need, to travel inside of the marina, you need an engine to be able to do that.
So you have to get like a route that's specific for like your gas consumption and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything like that. Yeah,
Wow.
but there's so many people have built these boats, these particular Warums, that there's so much resource and information out there. And like I said, I'm good friends because I met the boat builder this weekend that I was here, and he's an amazing, cool old dude that just loves to sail and loves to talk about boats, and any information or questions I might have, he's more than happy to help me out with figuring that out.
Yeah.
Cool,
That's
dude.
fucking insane, dude. You're a pirate. I hope you know from now on you're FatherBlue, the pirate. Like,
Where does the name come from? I mean, I get the
Dude,
blue part,
bro,
but whose daddy are you, dude?
Bro, I get this question all the time because I got a lot of hate because of like the FatherBlue, like, oh, who are you? You've never bred blue tree monitors, whatever. But so like, and I talked about this on another podcast, but the FatherBlue came from a really stupid thing. I was looking at a documentary and I found out about this guy his name was Lord Baltimore, and he was the guy named after the city of Baltimore, right? And I was like, damn. How cool would it fucking be if my name had Lord in the front of it, right? And then I try to look at like, how do I become a Lord? You gotta own land to become a Lord. So I was like, fuck, I can't become a Lord, right?
Like, gotta be a father.
I'm never gonna be that. But no. So then I'm scrolling through like YouTube or something, and I see this documentary about this guy named Father Steve. And he is this dude that was from New York City, and he was like a fashion icon, right? He loved to do streetwear, fashion, everything like that. He was really famous in the street culture, and his name was Father Steve. And I was like, that's a fucking cool name. I love the thing Father. So my original Instagram account, which is like I have 2 Instagram, which is like all about bike stuff and everything like that. I named it Father Guerra. That was just how I started off, and it's always been Father Guerra for a long time. And so when I got into the blue tree monitors, I was like, well, Father's a fucking cool name. I love blue. I'm working with blue tree monitors. Let's call it FatherBlue. And then that's where the name came from. But it had nothing to fucking do with breeding animals or trying to be the messiah of blue tree monitors. It just happened to be that, turned into that way, you know?
He's about to be Captain Blue, bro.
Yeah.
Captain Blue,
Wait until they hear about Captain Blue. They're going to be mad as hell, bro.
No, bro, it's Father something.
Yeah.
Father Ocean or some shit.
Captain FatherBlue, dude.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
FatherBlue works still, dude, because the water's blue.
Oh my God. Maui's done.
Factual. You guys have any other questions about the boat? I got one more for him. Not about the boat, but one more question. So you just completely refurbished your area where you had the blue tree monitors. You're building one more enclosure.
One more giant enclosure.
What is that for?
So because, again, when I talked about earlier that I had like rehomed all my animals, right? I had one more lone female that was ready to be rehomed, and I was giving her to a friend in California, but because of timing, he had to wait a while to get the animal. In that process, the ban happened, and so we could no longer ship him the animal.
Correct.
And so the animal is now stuck in my position in my home, and so I figured, well, since I'm not going to have these enclosures anymore, I'm not planning to do this on a large scale like this anymore. What can I do for this animal while it's in my home? And so I decided to get a large section of my room and just give it to that one animal. Cool. And so we're doing an entire like natural biotope in that area. So everything from like, I'm gonna try to incorporate the entire thing with like natural like plants from Indonesia, and I'm gonna do like multifaceted in terms of like I'm gonna cohabit with other animals. I'm gonna try that to see how it happens. Like look for some, if I can find those native skinks from that island, incorporate them in there. We're gonna do a big like inbuilt fish like water section where we're gonna try to like put mud skippers from Indonesia and also little like fishes, freshwater fish from Indonesia with like a waterfall incorporated and everything like that. And we're gonna make this a giant. I want it to look like a slice. Like I took Batanta and put it in this corner right there so that one animal can live in it. And it's huge. It's right now I think it's like 8 foot long. I think it's like 6 foot wide. And then because of the shape of it, it's I want to say anywhere between like 7 and 6 foot deep, something like that, and then 8 foot tall. So it's a giant enclosure. It's gonna be a big one for one animal.
That's sick.
Yeah, dude.
Okay, what did you think of the ESA once that passed?
Oh man, that I know how you feel. I definitely know how you feel. I think it's ridiculous that the way that they did it, and my whole beef with them is that they're basing all this stuff out of reports that are like so dated, like 20, 30-year-old data or really old data, and from just like 1 or 2 papers that they read online. So none of the people that are coming up with this has ever even visited Batanta, like we just talked about, right? It's not like that very developed. So them talking about they're deforesting it and all this other stuff, and like they're poaching it. They are taking a lot of animals out of Batanta for sure. But I'm fully confident there's a very good protected population on the higher elevation where these people can't even go to find them, right? And so I don't think that this ban of like interstate commerce should be happening. I think we should have them maybe CITES 1 so that we can't, collect imported animals anymore from Indonesia. I think that would be very beneficial. But I think that what they're doing to stop people from working with them, it's stupid. And maybe it's a selfish reason of mine, because I wasn't expecting, when I let go of my animals, I was like, well, I'm doing it now because maybe later in the future I'll have a better position and I can work with them eventually in the future. Well, this stops that, Now if I get rid of my animals, I'll never be able to work with the one animal that I love, that I've dedicated the last 5 years of my life towards. I'll never be able to work with them in captivity anymore. That's a selfish reason on my hand for sure.
Unless you stay in Florida. Bro.
So that's a selfish reason on my part, but I don't think that they should be having any effect on us working with animals. And because if they go along with this ban, this just gives them fuel to do that to all the animals eventually. Eventually they're going to be like, you can't keep croc monitors, you can't work with crocodilians, you can't work with leopard geckos, and then what?
Fuck.
I don't think it will go that extreme, but I will say I was reading more about it, and the first step towards CITES a lot of times is ESA, and there's a certain amount of days that they're put in. Right. So I think it's going to end up CITES 1 anyways.
I think so too. It's
just a step towards CITES, which is whatever. But yeah, I think they have to be protected in some way.
I think the conservation thing that they're saying, like people are saying, like we need to keep them so we can conserve. I don't believe that a lot of people are working towards that. 100%.
No,
I think
most people are not.
Yeah, I think if you want to work toward conservation, you have to do something in Indonesia to do that, because then you have the ability to re-release animals over there.
Yeah.
If someone was doing like a facility that was not profit based, you're not like an animal seller or dealer, and you're there specifically to work with these animals, breed them, and reintroduce, I think that's a great idea. But I don't think anyone over here saying, I need a tree monitor so I can do a conservation. Like even me saying that, and I know I preach that heavily. I got a real awakening when I found out that even if I did that, zoos aren't going to take my animals, so it doesn't matter.
That's one big thing. Just like working at a zoo, looking outside, I see a lot of people have that same idea, and it's like, it's not going to work because they have... Like AZA, like you were mentioning, they want you to keep track of genetics. They want you to keep track of like vet care. They want you to keep track. They can't be inbred. They can't be that. Like, it's so much to get into that even AZA within itself has problems sharing with one another as zoos. Imagine with outsiders. It's really hard to do that. And then like, if you breed them here, if they go extinct in the wild, they're biologically dead anyway, so it doesn't really matter. The only way I see like some form of conservation if you work with them in captivity is if like you actually had some sort of money and you donated back to that place.
Right.
And you like sponsored something.
Yeah.
Like you right now, you're going to go over there and record. Somebody has a blue tree breeder or whatever. Like if they were to be like, all right, like I'm going to sponsor you for you to do this research or do that. That's conservation. If you donate to the organizations that are protecting the forest, that's more of conservation than you breeding at all.
Yeah, I think a lot of the breeding in the USA is more so profit motivated, and some is exploratory. Some people are just like, hey, I never done this before, I want to breed an animal,
and that's cool.
That's cool too. But I think a lot of people here in the USA with most species, again, I think it's really hard to have a dream of conservation in the States, other than it being something for yourself or for the reptile community in the USA, because it can't go farther than that.
Conservation's it's a buzzword in the captive industry.
And even if you want to conserve within the USA, it's so hard to get into even that. And I work at a zoo, and I'm gonna tell you right now, think about it. Yeah, I'm right. One animal, one species, one species is like in a conservation program. One, and we have Orinoco crocodile, and we send the babies back to the wild. But that's it. Yeah. We have hundreds of species. We have hoofstock, we have crocodilians, reptiles, mammals. We have everything. One species is actually part of a conservation organization. Like it's program. Really, it's really freaking hard to be part of that.
I would say that the numbers that breeders are producing nowadays for these tree monitors is good data in terms of like us collecting, so we can show to like these government officials like, hey, look, we are not needing to poach these animals anymore. Look, like for example, I think I read somewhere that like Canadian cold blood, he's producing somewhere between like 65 blue tree monitors a year.
That's crazy.
So he's producing big numbers to the point where they don't need to be imported any longer. But then you might get the conversation from those guys in the future were, well, I need new blood now because my blood's already been intermingled to the point where I can't. So it's a very hard
But for that, like for me, whenever, like, let's say you have 65 or whatever, like if you sell those two babies as a pair, then you're not willing to keep the bloodline or keep track of a bloodline because you just got two siblings.
Yeah.
You messed that up yourself. Instead of getting one from this person, get one from this other person that are unrelated because the parents are wild caught. And then now you're continuing the bloodline to be clean.
Well,
but people don't follow that.
And it's also difficult for places like him. Like he's in Canada, right?
Yeah.
And he exports around the world as well. But now his market is really limited to the Canadian market because who else is breeding blue tree monitors in Canada? Only him. Yeah. So if 5 people got blue tree monitors and one dude sells them, you know, and then you got his, you could potentially have a related player, even though he has multiples, you know. But who is keeping track of that stuff? You know, you have no idea.
There is no track. People used to keep track when they first started, not like blue trees, but reptiles in general.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing.
Yeah.
People could show you like binders. This one is the parent of this one, which is that went away.
I'm not taking credit for. I'm sure a lot of these keepers are probably doing that in a sense, but it can get lost in translation really fast.
Yeah,
you know?
really quickly.
Especially when it comes to like desperation and being like, I want to do this, I need to do this, I need to get more, I need to do this, I need to grow that. Yeah.
That's I don't know. I don't think keeping is conservation, and that's like I keep too. Like I'm not against keeping. I'm just against like selling that lie, if that makes sense. Like I just keep to keep.
Just don't slap it on the
just a sticker, like bro.
Just to make yourself feel a little better.
And it took a while for me to get like real about that, you know, because I preached it so hard, like I'm doing this for conservation, I'm trying to do this and this and that, and then I got the gut punch where I was like, yo, all that work, we don't care, dog. Like we can't take your stuff. So this is you're doing this for yourself, pretty much, you know. So it killed that dream early. You know?
It changes. I always say that, like people that think that way all the time, I'm like, bro, go outside.
Yeah.
Like go outside and live something. Go to another country, bro. Like any country, bro. When I went to Mexico, I was like, what is this? Like these animals live very differently than what we keep them.
Yeah.
And like they actually have organization for conservation there that have never even heard of the pet trade over here. And it's like, damn, we ain't doing nothing other than keeping, which is fine. That's like a selfish thing, but it's fine. I'm selfish too. I keep stuff, but it's like you can't just put that sticker there. It doesn't work. It's not real. And I think people within the industry, if you really love animals, you should make it real. That makes sense. Like actually go out there and see and learn and experience new things, new people, animals in the wild. It changes everything. It literally changes everything.
That's one of the things behind the project of like working with the people in Indonesia and stuff like that in Batanta is like we're trying to do conservation through education, right? Like one of the things that I want to tell them is that like you guys, you're poaching a lot of your own animals, right? And the Raja Ampat is this beautiful land. It's so untouched. But it's creeping towards being damaged, right? You're seeing a lot of like coral bleaching happening right now. You're seeing a lot of animals being taken away, lesser numbers and stuff like that. But if we educate these people in the correct way, and I'm not saying like I'm the savior, that I'm the guy to be the guy out there to do this, or it's my idea or anything like that, right? I just feel if we go out there and we tell these guys, hey, look, these are your guys' gems. These are your diamonds. This is your gold.
The world wants this.
Right. The world wants this. If you protect it, then you'll save them, and then you can hopefully use that to your advantage, right? Because if you protect your island, well, people want to come see this stuff. They're going to have to come and ask you guys to see this stuff, you know? And so that's the route we want to go, you know, educate them so they can protect their own land and it doesn't get exploited any more than it has been, you know.
Would you do like herping tours or something like that?
I would love. That's the plan. I would love to, you know, and incorporate them because those are the guys that work there. You know?
That would be sick.
You know, and even if it's like setting up something, I don't know how it would work out, you know, because I wouldn't be able to. I don't know how to manage it, but like work it out where you can do this Batanta owned herping tours where all the money that's incorporated from that gets sent specifically back to them. You know, any money that they gain they can give it to their villagers, to the village, and they can split it however they have to do, you know, so they have some form of income. But, you know, it just depends how all this stuff works out in the end.
That's the move right there. Goals.
Guys, this was Reptiles with FatherBlue.